we've got something better than a track. We've got some lions. Now, this is a pride of lions that we have never seen before, so I'm very excited. And we've been looking for them a few times. My name is Brent Smith. I've got Dangerous Dave on camera, and we're with, wait for it, probably one of the strangest names for pride of lions you're ever going to hear, the Sausage Bride. Actually named after a sausage tree. Well, there are 3 cubs, quite old cubs, probably I'd say, probably 7-8 months old. And you're not going to believe it, but there are 3 adult lionesses right in front of the car. Now, I'm just going to lead you, Davey. Okay. Yes. Okay, where's my finger now? There is a lion. If you can actually believe it. Now, that's how long, all the cubs on the move, that's how long the grass is. Now, look at that. That's an 8-month-old cub. That is, as soon as it lies down, it's going to disappear. We're very lucky to have spotted them on top of a little termite mound, because they live in this really long grass area, and they like eating warthogs, which obviously can't see them coming in this grass. Remember, #Safari Live if you've got any questions for us. Now, there are 3 adult lionesses here, and I think if we stick on that cub, he's probably going to one of the adult lionesses I haven't seen. I've only seen 2 so far, but I mean, look at that. Yes, it's one of the reasons you probably don't want to be bushwalking through grass this length. You won't be able to see who's out there. Now, 2 of those youngsters look like young males. I'm just trying to double check now. Now, you can see why they're such a difficult pride to find, because of that long grass, but they are absolutely gorgeous. Well, I must say most of the lions here are pretty good looking. Not quite as good looking as Dangerous Dave, of course, but aren't they cute? So fluffy. So it looks like the one at the back to me is a young male, but it seems like he's starting to get a bit of a mane growing, and the one that also walked off looked like a young male to me. So this is a new pride of lions for us and for you as well. This is the first time we're seeing them. Now, we got told by Alfred, who's one of the wardens in the conservancy, and you can see the cubs aren't that used to people yet. It's taken us, look at this, heads up. Yeah, see, the cubs have panicked. Now, the females are used to cars. The cubs aren't quite used to cars yet, so that's why we're keeping our distance. And we've come very, very slowly towards them. And they're on the move. Now, because of this long grass, and these cubs have probably not had too much to do with vehicles, so we're just going very, very slowly with them. Now, there are another 3 adult females in this pride, so there's 6 adult females in total in this pride. And as far as the information we've got so far, there were no cubs. So this could even be one of the first times these cubs are being seen. And that could be why they're so nervous. When the mom was with them on the termite mound, they were okay. Now, mom's not nervous of the cars at all. But isn't this exciting? There's only proper wild lions. Look at her looking back at us. So Robert is wondering, when do the cubs start hunting? Normally at about 2 years old. I mean, at this age, they normally just make a mess of it and ruin hunts. But normally they start hunting properly at about 2 years old, maybe as young as 1.5. But 2 to 3 years old is where they really hone their skills. And this magic. And now, there's something quite special about seeing lions that are a little bit nervous of a vehicle, because it's wonderful to know that there are prides and places like that. And of course, we're going to be very, 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 very gentle with them, and very cautious about how we drive around them, and especially so in this incredibly long grass. Lynn is wondering, how long will the grass stay this high? Well, Lynn, tell the wildebeest to get here and flatten it. So wildebeest will actually, you're not going to recognize this large grassy plain in a few short months. It's going to be very short grass. Now, they look reasonably hungry. So I think we are going to stick with them. As I said, we're going to keep our distance. There we go. You can see there's Mom coming up the turn. Oh, she's gorgeous. She's actually very hungry now that I can see her belly. So she could be looking. Oh, look at her looking through the legs. Look. Oh, wonderful. Just keeping an eye on us through his mom's legs. Obviously, he feels much safer there. That is just magic. So they are quite hungry, so I think we are going to stick with them while they're moving, but we are going to keep our distance a little bit. So while we follow them, let's jump across back to Djuma. Well, we're still with the sausage pride, and it looks like the cubs have gone flat in that little thicket there. And she's going back there now. As you can see, it's quite difficult terrain to follow in, but let's just see what she does before we move. Now, we've been keeping a distance. There's already, you can already notice the animals relaxing. We're not driving straight at them. We're driving parallel to them, keeping a distance of about 40 or 50 meters. And speaking of moving, I'm going to have to drive right now. So just hang on with us, guys, as we just sneak a little bit closer. It's very important that we don't drive straight at the cubs. They might have had a negative experience with the vehicle before, so we're just going very slowly and just making sure that the cubs feel safe and the moms also don't feel like we're a threat. Now, so far the females seem to be completely fine with the presence of the vehicle, so obviously they're a bit more used to it. I don't think these cubs have seen very many vehicles with this long grass, and just their territory is not an area that is traversed too often outside of the migration. Okay, there we go. You see them there, Dave? Okay, so there we go. Hi, little guys. Don't worry. We're not up to mischief. And I think we've probably driven past this pride 4 or 5 times while we've been looking for them. Just they've been flat in the grass. I found a nice shady spot. There's a couple of termite mounds around here, which could be good for warthogs. Richie is wondering, what is the biggest pride seen in the Mara? Well, I'm not 100% sure yet, but out of the prides I can speak with authority on, or sort of absolute numbers on that I've actually personally seen. One of the biggest prides is by far the Paradise Pride, and the Paradise Pride, if I remember correctly, is probably close on. Hang on, so it's 9 adult females that I've seen, 9 cubs of various ages. So that's 18, eh, Dave? And then the main coalition there is the 4 musketeers. So I'm putting them at 22. And then the Ridge or Madumo Pride are at about 19. So 19 and 22 are the 2 biggest prides I know. There could very well easily be bigger prides, but I'm not sure. Okay, we're just going to sneak around to the other side of this thicket. We'll just see, we should maybe get a gap shortly. She's giving, it looks like, there we go. Oh, there we go. There's one of the little ones looking at us. So you can see how already, just by driving carefully and not rushing up and driving slowly, we're already closer than we were before, and the cubs are looking a lot more relaxed. Hey, little one. Aren't you good looking? And hungry. Yeah, so the whole pride looks quite hungry. Now, these Mara prides will very often hunt during the day, especially these prides that live in the long grass. So they tend to specialize in warthog at this time of the year, while they wait for the wildebeest to arrive. Almost that sort of, Mom, I'm hungry, Mom. There we go, there's another one of the little ones moving towards Mom. Now, Kim's asked a very interesting question now. Kim has asked, how big is the Mara in comparison to the Sabi Sands and Kruger? Well, the Mara itself is quite a bit smaller than Kruger, but the greater Mara ecosystem, which of course includes the Serengeti and Masai and the concessions, and also the Mara includes the conservancies. Well, I'm not 100% sure on the total size of all that, but the Mara National Reserve, which we can traverse in, is about 170,000 hectares, which makes it almost 3 times the size of the whole Sabi Sands. And that's just our traverse. We'll find out how big the whole ecosystem is for you a little later. But it's probably bigger than Kruger, I would say, the whole Mara Serengeti ecosystem, but it also covers 2 countries. And the Masai Mara is actually one of the smallest, is the smallest section. Are you okay, Dave? Are you dying there? Did you swallow a fly? Okay, good. One of the smaller areas of the ecosystem, the Masai Mara. So it's right up at the top end of these grasslands, and it's sort of beyond the Mara. You get into some dry acacia woodland and hills and thickets, and eventually up into forests. And it gets more rain than the rest of the ecosystem, and that's why all these wildebeest cram into this, well, incomparable to the rest of Serengeti, this really small area for, well, June, July, August, September. So for 4 months, all these animals are in a relatively small area compared to the Serengeti, where they're far more spread out over the rest of the year. But it is absolutely incredible, and it what makes it one of the prime wildlife destinations in the world. Oh, well, it looks like they're all going to disappear around the corner, so I'm going to do the same, but very slowly again. As I said, I don't want to upset the cubs at all. Well, so while we sneak around to the other side of the lions, just the other side of that bush, let's go back to James, who's probably glad he's not walking around in grass this high. There we go. Isn't this incredible? Just a little bit of patience and a little bit of respect, and the cubs are completely calm. We're only about 25 meters from them now. This one's just lifted his head, but he's been napping. So a very successful morning for us here in the Mara. And it is incredible that we can find lions like this that are so nervous of cars that they're not used to them. And just a little bit of patience, and we're able to sit right next to them. And it looks like this little family is going to chill out in the shade for the foreseeable future. Unless Mom catches the whiff of a warthog. You can see her nose sniffing there in the background. Hey guys. Hi Mika, who's 8 years old. Mika would like to know if lions in the Masai Mara hunt differently from lions at Djuma. Mika, that is very true, and all lions will generally have some of the same sort of hunting. Oh, Mom's up. You can see how hungry she is. Maybe she did smell something. But they will have some similar hunting strategies. Oh no, she's going to come through the bush here towards the other female. Oh no, she's just found a spot to lie down in a bit more shade. So the lions here tend to hunt quite a bit more during the day at this time of the year, and that's specifically in certain areas because they're after warthog, and warthog go to bed at night and they live under the ground. So if you want to eat warthog, you've got to be up in the daylight hours. And also because it doesn't get as hot here, the lions are more active throughout a 24-hour period than they are at Djuma. And also I've noticed that a lot of the prides don't like hunting buffalo, which is quite interesting. So they'd prefer to hunt other stuff, And there are certain prides, the bigger prides will hunt for buffalo, but most of the prides, and especially these prides that live in the long grass, will only hunt buffalo when the males are around, unlike the Nkuhumas, who smash buffalo in their faces as much as possible. Yes, you like warthogs, don't you? Now, of course, that all will change again when the migration arrives. So one must remember that a lot of animal behavior is very different depending on where you are. So lions in Kenya might do things slightly differently to lions in South Africa or lions in Botswana. And that's one of the fascinating things about being out in the bush, because you can learn something different every day. That is beautiful, Dave.
Okay.
It's so nice. So that little, you can see those little bushes there, those are called croton bushes, and they're one of the more common bushes, especially around the rivers and where there's a big termite mound, and the lions really love to sleep in the croton thickets. That is so pretty. Hey, you're very gorgeous, yes. Hi, Casey. Casey's wondering, why do these lions have so many flies around them all the time? Well, just because there's a lot more flies here now, and we've just had a bit of rain 2 nights ago, and that would have caused the flies to explode. Now, of course, this is not even a lot of flies yet. When 1.7 million animals arrive, the fly population is going to increase even more. There's something truly rewarding about finding animals that aren't relaxed. And slowly, well, we had a bit of a help here from the mothers, because the mothers weren't as nervous as the cubs. But just by making the right decisions, ending up, oh, there we go, look at that, ending up at a mere 20 meters from them. And they're completely relaxed around us now. They're not worried, but I mean, just one wrong move, even now, could give those cubs a fright and send them scuttling off, which of course we don't want to do. Hey, little guy. Yeah. You and I, we're going to be friends. I'm going to see a lot of you over the next couple of months. Absolutely stunning. And as I say, I don't think there's going to be too much movement from these guys for the next while. Hi, Kylie. Kylie is wondering, how far can young male lions travel after leaving a pride? Again, Kylie, there's no one answer to that. It's all very dependent on the lion dynamics of an area. But in certain areas, young male lions have been known to move 50, 60 kilometers, and I've even heard of a case specifically in areas where there are not a lot of lions, like deserts and that they can move over 100 kilometers. I would say probably in this area they'll probably move 2 or 3 territories from their natal range, maybe even 4 or 5. But remember, the territories here are much smaller than what we'd be used to in the Sabi Sands. So probably at the long end, 50 to 60 kilometers, more likely 20 to 25 kilometers in the Mara. In the Sabi Sands, it's generally, or in the Greater Kruger, it's generally a bit further. As these lions creep deeper and deeper into the croton thicket, I think Dangerous Dave and myself are going to see what other wonders the Mara has in store for us. But luckily for us, Tristan has got some pachyderms. Lou? Oh, welcome, welcome. Who can spot the animal? Now, there are 2 animals in that shot, and they're quite big normally and quite easy to spot, and that just gives you an idea of the size of the Olololo escarpment. So, Davy, can you go wider still? So, there we go. There's the top of the escarpment, and you've got some boulders and stuff around, and then we've got a female elephant and her calf feeding just below a rocky outcrop with a fig tree on it. Isn't that just too spectacular for words? Now, this is an area that we haven't spent too much time in yet. This is also part of the Sausage Pride's territory. So we thought we would have a meander along the base of the Olololo escarpment to see if we could find any other members of the lion pride, or of course anything else. And we've got a lovely cow and calf. Now it is very, very beautiful here, and I'm not sure whether I've got comms. Just give me a second. Okay, I think I've got it all fixed. Isn't this too wonderful? Quite windy today. Now, I'm also hoping we get some interesting bird species along here. And I can hear everything perfectly now. So we've got comms with final control again. So of course, if we go look higher up the escarpment, Dave, you can see there's some forests, and of course we're going to get a whole host of different bird species in there. In some areas, those forests come right down to where we are, so we're going to be looking very, very carefully. Isn't this just too magical? Now, a very exciting story that I saw a bird that has been eluding me for about 15 years on this escarpment, and it is the blue swallow. And it's a very rare bird. There's estimated between 1,500 and 4,000 left in the wild. And what happens is they nest. There's a couple of pairs in South Africa and in Swaziland, and then the two really big populations of them are in Zambia and southern Tanzania. Now, those Zambian and southern Tanzanian birds, a lot of them migrate to the north of Lake Victoria to feed when out of breeding season. And then what happens is they slowly make their way back down to their breeding grounds, but they stop off in places to collect insects and eat on their long migration. Now, this is the first record was from about 2 weeks before we arrived of blue swallows along this escarpment area here. And Dave and I went down to that area, and we actually managed to find 4 of them. And then Tyler, who's the general manager of Ngama, he managed to find another 4 in another area. So there's always a chance, who knows, will we keep our eyes open, we might even find the very rare blue swallow in this area. So what happens is they generally quite like to perch on quite small things like that dead tree over there near the elephants. So we're always just keeping our eye out, and with this incredible wind we've got, they tend to swoop very fast. So we've got to keep our eyes carefully peeled, and who knows, maybe we'll find a leopard or 2 along the escarpment. We've just got a Cape turtle dove flying past. That's not a rare bird, but also as the wind picks up, it's not great for birding, but we will do our best. And also, once we've got our other vehicles down, where I don't have to pop in and out, I'm sure we're going to be able to see quite a few more birds. Oh, Fluffy, that is a difficult question. What is my favorite bird call? Ooh, now I've got to think. I've got a few favourite bird calls. I think the Hugulins, or white-browed robin, is definitely one of my favourite bird calls. And then the great blue taraco is also another one of my favourites. That's sort of gawk, gawk, but I can't do it nicely. But yeah, I'd say those are probably my 2 favourites. I've probably got 100 favourites if I think about it for too long, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to go with the 2. Now remember, hashtag Safari Live if you want to ask us any questions, like Fluffy just did, and we would love to hear from you. And we are live from the Masai Mara in Kenya, right below the exquisite Ololo escarpment. Our camp is high up on the escarpment, but further to the north, so we do have wonderful vistas from camp. Now, Dan is wondering, do we get any African grey parrots here? Dan, we do not. Oh, hang on, Darby, there's something flying, and let's just see where it lands. Now, there are a couple of starlings that I really want to show you, and it's disappeared into the grass. There's a particular starling called a superb starling, which is superbly beautiful. I'm hoping this is a good area for them. We'll keep an eye out. But Dan was wondering about African grey parrots. You got something? It flew away. Where are you looking? Oh, dear. Oh, it's a yellow-throated longclaw. Well spotted, Dave. That should be a new bird species for a lot of people. Now, a yellow-throated longclaw. They're one of the more common grassland species you get here. Dan, I will get back to the parrots, but while we have a longclaw... Oh, we've got a starling incoming. He's going to land... Oh, he's going to chase the longclaw off. But unfortunately, it is not the superb starling it is it? So difficult in that dark. We can't really see it. It's just it's a starling. We'll leave it at that for now. But Dan was wondering about African grey parrots, and we don't get any of them here. They are forest species, and as you can see, this is very much an open savanna. Oh, I can hear a testicular calling, but in the grass somewhere. Jane is wondering, could I describe what the dawn chorus is like in the Mara? And it is dominated by the white-browed robin chat, which has got one of the most beautiful calls, and it is definitely, as I said, one of my favourite calls. It is exquisite. I suggest you look it up. Oh, what have we got here? It looks like a little flycatcher. Now, which flycatcher? Now, that is a different question. Watch, my head might pop through. I'm sorry, I just need to get my binoculars. No, I missed. Is it a flycatcher? No, it's not. What have we got here? Mystery bird. Oh, very interesting. See the very yellow feet? It actually looks like one of the pipits now that I look a bit closely. Quite a thick bill. Now, of course, I'm learning the birds up here. I'm a bit rusty on them, so we're going to learn together. I think this one might take me a little while to figure out. I'm going to have to look at my book. And very yellow legs, very thick bill. Quite a light throat. Okay, well, I'm going to try to figure out what bird this is. So while we do that, let's go back to Tristan, who's cruising around Djuma.